Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom?
This is gonna be an adventure on its own. All the people are gonna come, cause it's time for PeaCreaLive. Mr. Big and Happy.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We're here on a lovely day to meet with you again. Welcome. Arno, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, David. I offered myself the gift of a nap in the middle of the day,
Oh, that's good.
and that was very, very, very needed. Very, very needed. With that alarm, I was like, okay, and there's no way I will sleep more than 3 hours and miss the beginning of PeaCreaLive. So I just went with that alarm, and it was great.
Great. Thanks for the update. You know, in Daniel Pink's book, When, The Science of Perfect Timing, have you heard of this book? I'm pretty sure it's called that. Oh, hey,
I know the guy, but not this book.
we got Nishant. Watch. Hey, guys. Nishant says, welcome, Nishant. Just put you on the show. Hope you're having a great day today. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're doing a show today about giving and receiving and what that means in these times. And a lot of people are good at giving, but a lot of people don't know about receiving. A lot of people struggle with receiving. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But as always, everyone, if you are interested, you can send us some comments and some questions. You can completely change the topic of our show with a question
Yes.
that you have. If you give us an appropriate comment, we can switch the entire show. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and if you're just stumbling upon this show and you're like, my God, that's amazing. They both have beards. I wish had known about this show. You can subscribe at peacefulcreativity.com/live or relovution.co. And you will be informed on the next episode and where it is, because it's a little bit secret. Sometimes it's on YouTube, sometimes it's on Facebook. We're mysterious like that. And today we're talking about giving and receiving, and we want to hear from you what it means for you. What have you gave? What do you wish you had received in these times? And what's any kind of question that you have? We are happy to answer to it.
Yeah, giving really speaks to me today because I'm reading this book called Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein. And in it he talks about the gift economy and what that would be like. And I'm also taking his course at the same time called Living in the Gift. And the course has some fascinating information about giving and receiving and what life is. So I think, this is something that's been on my mind quite a bit lately. And, so we'll talk about it. We'll see what happens. And we can share some stories. And send us your comments about our beards or about sometimes our matching clothes. One of our friends says we're the same person. We don't think that's true, but feel free to ask us anything on the show, and we will redirect to make sure to address your stuff. So,
Mhm.
so Arnaud, what's your sense of what giving really is?
Okay, I don't know about my sense, but what's coming to me is there is this association, this NGO called Giving What We Can, that helps doing effective altruism, and I really like this concept, because I think it feels great to give when you're really in a moment where you have what someone needs and you can give it without condition. It feels amazing, especially compared to a lot of us who are, working for themselves and dealing with sales issue. The comparison between, hey, this is for you, I'm giving it to you, it's free, it's from me, it's from the heart, versus, okay, I have this, but you need to pay to get it. This is day and night, and that's something I'm working a lot on at the moment for myself. So I love this idea of giving with without any barrier, and knowing that what you give goes to the right person as well, and will have an impact which is positive for that person. And that's what I love about this NGO, because their efficiency, and so that's what's coming to me when we talk about giving.
Yeah. I like that you said, giving unconditionally, because a lot of us give with an outcome in mind, you know? Like you're trying to buy a toy for a kid or something, and you want to see the kid have like a great reaction, you know?
Yeah.
And if they don't, you get like a little bit disappointed. Well, I would say that's not a gift then, you know? It's like you're actually just trying to manipulate. You're just trying to get like approval and adulation from the kid. That's why he gave it, you know? But a gift without outcome is, I think, that's when it feels really good, no matter what. As you said, there's like there's stories online of people who give, and then they'll just leave something on a park bench for someone else, and they don't want to be even found. You know what I mean? Like they don't even want to. So that would be a test, I guess. If your gift, if the person you're giving to wouldn't ever know that you gave it to them, would you still give it, or do you actually need something in return, like even a thank you? I mean, I grew up learning that you have to say thank you all the time to everybody, you know, and in fact, that's like that's how I found out Santa Claus wasn't real. I don't know if he isn't real or no, but Santa Claus isn't
I'm
real,
speechless.
and I know it's
I can't do this. I that's too much to take. Oh, okay,
sorry.
I'm staying.
So
Yeah, at least say spoiler warning before dropping bombs like that, dude.
sorry before I destroy your childhood, but it was the presents used to say when we were tiny kids, like from Santa, but then we'd always be told, no, say thank you to your father for getting you that or whatever, and it's like, okay, it wasn't Santa. Stop writing Santa on the, why did they say
Oh,
thank you?
really?
So the I learned, and of course, saying thank you is good. Gratitude is great, but is it real gratitude if there's an obligation? You know, so there's this really interesting thing in giving and receiving, that it can very quickly be used to support triggers, you know, and instead of be used to support unconditional experiences.
That's a very interesting approach. So let me comment, because my older son celebrated his birthday 2 weeks ago, and we got him gifts, and it worked. And I don't feel
What do you mean it worked?
I don't feel he was over the moon. He was so happy. He had such a wonderful day. That was a pleasure to see. And I don't think we forced, I'm trying to remember, I don't think we forced him to say thank you, because in this moment, there was no need to say thank you, seeing his joy was already the reward, So I'm not saying that this is an unconditional gift, because we got something out of it purely, but I think
No, but that doesn't make it unconditional.
that's
Like, just because you get something, that doesn't mean it's unconditional. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But this we're getting
no,
right
but
to the
that
heart of what a gift really is with this. So yeah, keep going, keep going.
yeah, I love that, because this is, I've also been in a position where I left things on benches, or for example, oftentimes I put some books that I read, I put them in those little boxes that are in Prague for someone else to pick, and it feels okay. Uh, I'm not mega rewarded by that. I just feel like I did the right things. And I'm also, I guess I'm happy that I made some space in my flat, So here as well, there is like these rewards. So I don't know if this fits in. I don't know if anything fits into the unconditional gift description. I'm really curious about what you think about that and what this book by Charles Eisenstein is saying about that.
Well, this gets right to the idea of like, is there anything altruistic? There's that argument that
Yes.
there's nothing altruistic. That in the end, something always ends up benefiting you somehow in the end. Even if you give a bunch of toys to a kid, and you see their joy and how good that makes you feel, so you benefited. So it's not completely altruistic, but altruistic and unconditional are not the same thing for me. Like just because I benefit, why wouldn't that be the case? You know what I mean? Like this is the key. I think the key is that from the perspective of separateness, from the perspective that we're all separate, then, it does, gift giving, complete altruism, it seems somehow always selfish. It's like, no, you can't, you're supposed to be able to do something without any gain for yourself. But in the idea that everybody is separate, individuals in this myth of separation, that's where this seeming conflict appears between being altruistic or not. But if you come from a perspective of oneness, that everybody is intimately connected, and we're all one, then of course everything I do is going to come back in some way. That's not a surprise. So a gift in that context will, by definition, always come back in some form or another. Though the thing that makes it unconditional is how attached whether we have attachments to those outcomes, whether we have attachments to what it looks like when it comes back,
Yeah.
So I think that you can totally give an unconditional gift and know that of course it's going to return to you, because it's impossible for it not to return to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. So that's actually basically the expression without outcome is hidden behind what you just said. Like, it's okay, you think about that person, you want that person that you're going to make the gift to, you want that person to be happy, and you give it, and then it's kind of out of your hand. It's in the person's reaction. And if you have like if you thought that person was going to be super, super happy and he's just happy, then you create suffering for yourself, because you're like, damn, or maybe resentment can come. And I think that's what we want to try and avoid, or at least reflect upon why we add this extra layer of expectation. You did your best, you spend some time choosing the gift, and you think it can be of value for that person, and then you give it, and then everything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
Somehow.
We're so tied up with getting approval. We're so tied up with getting approval from others that even in our gift giving, we're actually people pleasing, and even in our gift giving, we're actually trying to collect approval from other people, and that I think is a block. That's a block to actually giving an authentic gift. I mean, of course you don't want to give a gift that someone thinks is going to suck. I mean, you want to try to get, of course, but the thing is that you don't have to use the litmus test of how is this person going to react to the gift. You don't have to use that as your criteria. You could use the criteria of what feels like the most loving gift I could give. And you'll end up at the same exact gift. But if you come from what's the most loving gift I could give, and you just give that, then it just feels good in the giving. And of course you're going to receive something in return, their gratitude, a gift in return, or some people really believe that if we are all one, every gift you give puts like a deposit, into the oneness, and then even if something doesn't immediately come back to you, it's just something's coming around the corner that's going to come back to you. You know what I mean? There's a cool quote in Charles Eisenstein's course, Living in the Gift. He quotes somebody that I forget, but he says that gifts go around the corner. the quote is, and that means that like when you give a true gift, you can't see the real effect it's going to have. You can't see, like, for example, I mean, I'm not trying to brag here, but I was thinking about this earlier. Today I bought lunch for two separate homeless men, and it happened very naturally, just like was walking around, talking to them, and then found out I was buying lunch, so I bought them some lunch. You know what I mean? It was easy. And when I got home, I was like, I have no idea what lives these guys live. I have no idea when they're going to eat that food. You know what I mean? Because I didn't see them actually eating it. I have no idea what effect this is going to have. But this, like, I felt really good. And I didn't feel guilty about feeling good, because in the oneness, it's okay to feel good when you give. So, as I felt good. But then I thought to myself, like, what if one of those meals, like, what if that homeless guy shares it with another person, and they become friends and they actually help each other survive this time, or what if, like, what if it just causes one of them to believe a little bit more in their own dignity and themselves, and that puts some switch, and I'm never going to see the outcome of that. I'm never going to see the result of that, and so that's how the gift goes around the corner. And then and the gift keeps going around the corner. You can't see my hand, but the gift keeps going around the corner until eventually maybe it comes back to me. Maybe somebody hands me something I need when I need it.
Yeah.
By the way, we got 3 hearts. I don't know what the hearts are for, but we got 3 hearts coming through on the comments. So thank you for those hearts. And we have a great
thank you, guys.
We have a great comment from Kuma-san, and she says, "What would love do? What would love do?" As a response to this idea of the gift, and what's the gift what's the most loving gift? What would love do? Yeah, beautiful question, Kuma-san. That's exactly what helps me all the time. If you have a story you want to share, and you can somehow type it to us, let us know. We'll tell it on the show here. Yeah. So what do you think about that idea, Arno?
So
the gift goes around the corner.
Yeah, there's things I want. Yeah. That's another thing I want to react to on what you said. Did you didn't feel guilt for feeling good about sharing this lunch or buying lunch for those 2 homeless guys? Did you feel guilt now sharing the beginning of this story? When you shared it right now, did you guilt come in or not?
It wasn't guilt. I hesitated because I felt like because I was worried about people pleasing. I hesitated because I felt like someone's going to hear this and think I'm telling this story to try to get credit, to try to get kudos from them, to try to get a reward from them. But I wasn't trying to get any reward from anybody. But it's interesting that the people pleasing part was still active. I was still worried about what they were going to think about me when I told the story, even though I wasn't trying to get anything. It was still there. So that's why I hesitated.
That's interesting, because clearly your story wasn't here for you to brag. It was to make a point and tie to the ripple effect. But this is I know how I feel when I do something good and then I tell about it, and I have the same hesitation that you just had, like, oh, is she gonna think I'm trying to impress her or trying to look good because I did this XYZ stuff. So that's interesting how deep it is.
Yeah.
Embedded in us, this people pleasing thing, people pleasing, the fear of looking like a bragger, if that's a word.
Yeah, well, normally Americans don't suffer from that very much, but in Europe it's a more different attitude. Like there's even a whole word for it in Denmark where you're not supposed to, like, talk about your accomplishments.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I thought it could be easily misconstrued. But that's just me people pleasing. Like, fuck it. Like, I should just, I mean, if I really don't need anything from anybody's reaction, then I also don't need to stop them from being like, that guy's a jerk. He's just telling stories to make himself look good.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Fine,
yeah.
Go ahead. Think
And
that. Everybody think that. It's fine.
And that's empowering, actually.
Yeah.
right? Because that's one less thing you need to worry about. It's like, yeah, they can sing what they want. I don't care. I know why I say that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, the ripple effect is something that I think about very, very often, and the fact that, yeah, you really don't know what can happen with simple act of kindness, like buying lunch for those two homeless people. And the story of Lisa Kunif, I think is her last name, came to me, where she gave her time, her energy for, I think, 10 years in the UK teaching yoga where no one else was teaching yoga and mindfulness. And she had this dream of, you know, bringing yoga and mindfulness into the public education system in the UK. And for 10 years, like she hit walls, you know, doing yoga class and 2 people shows up, 3 people show up, people cancel and not making money out of it and struggling. And then she kind of changed and she moved to Prague, and that's when she told me that story. Yeah. No, you were not there the day where she told that story. And then she come back to UK on vacation, and she meet one of her former students in the yoga class, who happens to be, or to had become in between, not an assistant, but a consultant or someone who advise the government and the Ministry of Education. And that former student of Lisa had spent 10 years in her class learning yoga, hearing all the benefit of yoga, and now that one student told it to, you know, whoever, minister or whatever, I don't know how the system works there, and they started to implementing things so that basically so that the dream of Lisa that she thought she was failing at for 10 years, this is getting real, you know, this is manifesting, this is coming to life, because she gave so much of her time. And I guess she was having outcome, because she was having expectation, because she was sad and frustrated at the time when she got all those walls and all those failures. But after that, the ripple effect made the work, and she actually reached her dream, or her dream happened. Not only that, but several of her students went on doing yoga and started teaching yoga and mindfulness and spirituality and making their own group. So it's very visual example of a ripple effect. So yes, I believe in that. I think it's wonderful. I think people should do what they really care about and share the love, do those little things, you know, like buy a lunch to a homeless guy, like give a pen to someone who needs a pen. It can be super small, and you never know what's will come out of it.
Yeah.
I love this story. I was so touched when she shared this story. That's amazing.
That's a great story. That's a great story. I think that's, you know, that's how the world is, you know, because it is all a oneness. We can't see around the corner, but everything we give has a positive effect. I really think so. I really think so. You know, and so yeah, I'm trying to give more. I just signed up to be part of this organization called B1G1, which means buy one give one, which means that in my project Revolution, everything good that happens in that, like if a new coaching client comes, or a new meditation group is formed, or, you know, a new for example, if a new corporate project comes from our collaboration, creative leadership, you know, that's going to be listed there, and each thing like that is going to create a giving result, you know. And so this impact will grow, and, you know, maybe we'll be able to say something like, you know, we did 1 million X, you know, we helped 1 million people in this way, or, you know, 100,000 people in this way, or whatever, you know, by the time it's all said and done. And I think that just makes it so much more, feels so much better to me, to, like, it gives me so much energy to push the project, you know. It gives me so much excitement, you know, when it's not just about people served, and it's not just not just about clients served, but it's also, every client we serve helps 100 other people across the world. Like that to me is just really exciting, and it's a reflection of the oneness.
Yeah, yeah. Let me give another example of this ripple effect and how it can come really easily. Um, so I started to work for Avast in 2015, and for some reason they created this foundation where they give back money to some organization, and I had like a good salary there, so I was giving on my own regularly to NGOs, and one of which I had found on this Giving What We Can platform that I was talking about at the beginning. And Avast gave us the possibility we could propose an NGO and they would give them money. And that's what I did. And they accepted my NGO and they give them, I think, $2,000 or something like that. And I remember when I got this email, I felt it was certainly not altruistic. I felt like so happy and good and proud, of what I accomplished by basically sending an email or filling up the form saying, "Hey, I like this NGO because XYZ. I've been giving them for this amount of months, etc." And especially because I choose my NGOs based on their efficiency, as I said, and this one is against malaria. And there is a really effective way to work against malaria, to fight malaria with mosquitoes nets. And mosquitoes nets are very inexpensive. So with basically $1 or $2, you can save lives. So imagine, how much lives were saved, and the ripple effect just for filling one form. That's amazing. So yeah, people like do little stuff, help a little bit. You never know what's gonna happen of it and how it's gonna snowball and have a massive impact. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. They're just, there's a story of this guy. There's a book and a movie, I think. I think it's called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, right? And the reason I know about this story is because this guy basically, this kid, like a 14-year-old kid in some village, a village somewhere in Africa. I don't know where. I want to say Malawi, but he basically built a windmill. He used like bicycle parts to build a windmill in his village, and it gave his village some power. And so his village started to have small electricity, and they started to use it for like a well, and they started to use it for other things. And it basically made like a massive improvement to the quality of life in his village. And he started teaching other people how to build these windmills and things like this. And he found how to build that windmill because of books that were donated to a nonprofit in his area that just set up a small library. And these books were donated from, this book was donated from somebody in the US, to a library, somewhere. And the company that I used to work for, Better World Books, we accepted a lot of books from libraries that they didn't use anymore. And this was one of those books, made it, and we donate them to, we're donating them to nonprofits, and as well, and this book made it to Africa. And this one book, in the hands of this kid, ended up creating windmills for a whole series of villages.
That's
ended
crazy.
up teaching people all new skills, And it's like the person who donated that book in the U.S., they probably never gonna know that story, But look at the effect it had. The qualitative effect on people's lives was tremendous, just from donating a book. So it's just, I mean, some might say this is all coincidence or serendipity, but one of the cool things from Charles Eisenstein's course, that was me.
Bless you.
That was me sneezing on camera, but I muted myself just in time for the live show.
Oh, you did?
I did.
So that's why you didn't do a dab. You had the best occasion to do a dab, because you're already at this. But I like that you thought about muting yourself. So
Yeah, I muted
congratulations.
myself. I muted myself and then unmuted. So I don't even remember what I was talking about. Better take the floor. I don't know.
No, you were talking about something in Charles Eisenstein's course.
Oh yeah, people say that this is like that this idea
Serendipity.
of giving is becomes receiving, that the gifts come back to you, or that this gift giving is just a 1 in a million shot, and and it's all just coincidence. You know what I mean? These stories that we have, but I don't think that's true, because as he says in this course, if you look at life is a gift. The only explanation of life is that it's a gift. Like you didn't have to make the sun shine, did you? The sun was shining already before you got here. The planet was already here before you got here. All the infrastructure that feeds you, all the infrastructure that makes all the things in your house, it was already here before you got here. I don't know if you heard that. It had a
yes.
It had a furniture malfunction. The universe is agreeing,
Sorry.
emphasizing my points. So you didn't have to figure out how plants grow. By the way, pretty much all your food and basically all your clothes come from plants. Okay, but you didn't have to figure out how they grow, did you? And even if you don't know how plants work, you don't even have to know that to enjoy all the things that a plant does. Even the things you make, okay? You might say like, well, like this computer, it's not a gift, because people had to figure out how to make it. And people put all this effort into it. So it didn't just it didn't just arrive in this gift definition of life that you have. But what about what gave those people originally the energy and the intelligence to work on that? Like, did they have to earn that? That came with them somehow. You know what I mean? So if you go back far enough and examine each thing far enough, you realize, oh shit, it was like kind of all here. All the setup was all here before I got here. I didn't have to earn it. And so life is a gift. And this like makes me think of so many things, but one of the things that makes me think about that drives me crazy is the idea that we have this term called cost of living, because despite the fact that life is a gift, our society has decided that, oh, no. When you're born, you have to pay. You have to pay for your whole life. That's how our society is set up. And that makes no sense to me anymore. During this, virus time, that's one of the things that became so clear to me, is that the whole idea of cost of living is a violation of nature, because kids didn't choose to, you have your kid is born, right? Your kid is born and now they have to pay, basically. Money is required now for all of their stuff forever. We decided that life costs something. Meanwhile, all the shit required for life was here already before we even invented money. But now we decided, no, money is required just for you to live. I think doesn't make any sense. So, that's one of the things that gets me to think about. But it all comes from the idea that life is a gift. So of course giving works. Of course it works, because that's what life is.
So everything that's happening now is the best way we found, and that's a work in progress. And like the way our bodies are made, it's like thousands and millions of years of evolution and trial and error. We try to have a hand here. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it works better when the hand is at the end of the arm. So great. Let's keep on with that. And that at a much lower scale, money and the economy, it's just the best way we found so far, right? Because if we want to, like, we tried to just have everything available and just help yourself, and it didn't work well. And now we found a way, or well, it depends from which point of view, but we wanted to grow as a species and to colonize the earth, and that's what we did. And because we have this almost unnatural, no, I was going to say unnatural, but that's paradoxical. Because there's so much of us now, we had to build some systems to survive and to not kill each other too much and to continue to grow, to the point that now our little planet is not big enough and we're trying to continue to other planets. But that's definitively a work in progress. UBI is a big theme now. It's like 10 years ago it was laughable. Now it's becomes more and more something that people are thinking about. Universal basic income. It's still connected with the concept of money and cost of living, but it's starting to be detached from the concept of work in order to get money in order to live. And who knows where we'll be in 1,000 years, Maybe everything will be automated and there won't be everybody talks about Star Trek, but I've never really watched Star Trek. I just know that Captain Kirk is badass and Captain Picard is bold, and that's cool because we bold guys need some symbols and some role models. And I know that they live in an ideal society, but I agree with you. It's weird. It's weird that there is the cost of living. I just think that it's the current state. And that it's a work in progress, and maybe we'll go back to you were born, congratulations, here's your food, here's your water, here's your entertainment and your social life, and everything is free, and we don't need money anymore. But so far this is the best that we could come up with. And this is changing, with crypto, with all this blockchain and all this automation, all this technology is disrupting everything and changing. But this is the best we had so far, is what's coming to me when you tell me about that.
I mean, that's could be true. That I'm not convinced though that this is the best we've come up with so far, because we are. I mean, this is something Charles Eisenstein points out in his book, Sacred Economics. The money system has turned everything into something that's sellable or buyable, and so in some ways that makes everything abstract. It makes everything impersonal, because you no longer for example, need your neighbors. He talks about in the book how 2, even 3 generations ago, your neighbors would help you. If your roof was messed up, your neighbors would come help you. If the children were taken care of by all the neighbors, you know what I mean? Kids were regularly at each other's houses when, parents couldn't be home.
Yeah.
You needed to borrow something, you go to your neighbors, and he talks about how now, we don't need that. We don't need that because you can just buy all of those services. You can buy all those things as services, And he's saying that this idea from economics that's good because you can buy more things. He's saying that but what's the quality? What's the quality of our experience? The quality of our experience buying daycare is so much less personal and connective and human than sharing childcare responsibilities in a small community, for example, and so I'm not sure it's the best we can come up with. I mean, it allows for certain things that were not possible before, but I think it's trade-offs. More things are possible now than they were before. Like I could buy something because of money, because of the money system, I can, pay for somebody to edit this video, who lives in, Cambodia, and that's a job they would get and money, and maybe they don't have any other jobs near them, and I can actually, make that possible. And the trade-off is that our community is eroded. I don't know the people in my building. No need to talk to the people in my building. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
And so that's just one example. So I don't think. I mean, look at how ill people are now. You know, I mean, for the first time, like the Gen X generation is the first generation whose life expectancy has stalled and is not, you know, isn't increasing anymore, you know, compared to previous generations. You know, the children have more chronic diseases now than they ever have had before. You know, the number of people who take depression medication, you know, the people who identify as anxious and depressed, I mean, you know, that's greater than ever before. Now, there could be other reasons for that. Like, you know, we just maybe never, you know, maybe didn't diagnose all the depressed people, or just we didn't have the medicine available or something. But I don't think that's the case, you know, because it's not like that. It's not like that. Those increased rates of depression exist all over the world. You know, in the U.S. in particular, you know, the potentially most money-driven place in the world's leading economies, you know, that's where the people are like the sickest. You know what I mean? The out of all like the wealthiest economies, the U.S. is always like the sickest place. You know, so I mean, it's like, I think a lot of it comes from this, like healthcare has been commodified by money to now, so that the incentives now in healthcare, you know, in the US, like when you see a doctor, the average time you spend with a doctor is something like 7 minutes. You know, it's like that didn't happen, but in the past when you knew the doctor, you knew the doctor's family, you know what I mean? They were part of the community. So again, there's a lot of things I can do now that I can't do before. Some of the giving stuff that we were just talking about in the beginning of this episode, you know, that's made possible by things like the internet and money. And I can send money to a charity in India and they can feed people. You know what I mean? So that's amazing. But it's trade-offs. I agree with you completely. It's a work in progress. Agree with you completely. But what excites me is the one that's like, you know, the big shift when we get close to Star Trek World. Because in Star Trek World, it was such a beautiful vision for humankind. In that world, it's just obvious that there's enough for everybody. And things are, you know, the way things are built and the way things are made makes it very easy for everybody to have what they need. You know, you don't work because you have to live. You don't work because you have to pay a cost of living in the Star Trek world. You work because you feel like that's what your passion is. And as a result of that, genius is unleashed, you know, because people aren't squashing themselves because they have to pay just to exist, which is so dumb because we're saying we control life. You know, life, you're not allowed to be here, life. This human life that you have, you're not allowed to be there unless you pay. Like, that's still so stupid.
Yeah.
It's a huge tangent. Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's very interesting. You know, hey guys, if you're still watching, you can comment, you can ask your question. This is
David
not
he's
just
an idiot.
this is not just David and I philosophizing. This is a live show. We are here for your questions. What did you think about what David just said? You know, what's giving for you? What's the gift economy? What does it bring to you? What do you think about this cost of living? Think about that and let us know in the comment. And what I meant by this is the best we come so far is it's the best we can so far by definition because it is what is now. And we are working on the next best thing, you know, so that any given moment, the systems that we used are the one which survive the evolutions of systems, you know. So we used to trade pigs versus chickens, you know, and that was inconvenient because I don't know if you ever tried to carry 3 chicken at the same time to bring it with a pig. It's much easier to have some little coin and you're like, this is 3 chicken, okay? And you bring the 3 chicken to my place next week, okay? Okay. So I give you I trust you, all right? All right. So that's much easier. And definitively, I mean, what you said is true. Like the Star Trek utopia is fantastic and that's a beautiful vision and that's achievable. it takes some time, and that's a work in progress. And like as I was saying before, UBI is one step in that direction. One of your candidates is talking about democracy dollar that would solve some other problems and give some power to the people and kind of remove the attachment to money, because everyone would get some money that they could invest in a political cause that they believe in. So those are ideas that start to pop up, but then they need to grow and they need to be shared and they need to be refined and adopted finally. And I completely agree with you, that there was that this is a trade-off and that we lost this sense, a part of this sense of community. That's sure. So I'm going to work in a factory, but I leave my kids at the neighbor's place. But I think that we have, if this is, okay, let me phrase it like that. If this is an important need for us as humans, we're going to find a way, and that's thanks to capitalism. Bear with me here. If you want to become a billionaire, help a billion people. I forgot who said that, but that's super true. There are cities which are dedicated to making money by helping a lot of people. The Silicon Valley, in Berlin, there's a very big startup scene of people trying to do that. People are trying to make money by helping a lot of people. So they need to touch human needs which are not met. So if the need of community is one need that needs to be built, people will work on that. Oh, they are already working on that. Meetups, coach surfing, even Airbnb at the beginning. Now it kind of shifted. Well, now it's all paused. But their point was, we don't want people to go in a place that they don't know and stay at a random hotel where everything is curated and you don't see anything. The first idea of Airbnb was people are going to move and live with the locals. Boom, connect with people, connection, community. And all of a sudden, your community is no longer your neighborhood. Your community is the world. Like wherever, or rather wherever you go, you can enter that community and know your neighbor from thousands of miles away. And this fills me with optimism. This is the part this is the part of capitalism that really warms my heart and gives me optimism for the future, is that this greed, and I'm not going to say greed is good, but this greed of I want to make money out by helping a lot of people, the effect that it has is, at the end of the day, connection sometimes, Uber, I always talk with my Uber taxi drivers. I know it's paused now, but I never talked with, I didn't used to talk with cab driver before Uber was there. Now, at least every time I go on a ride with Uber or Bolt or whatever, I'm talking, I'm exchanging a little bit. I'm like, oh, wow, this is a very different point of view that I have on life. And so this person is living in the same city as me and he sees it completely different. This is other connection which are being born. And if we go back to dropping your kids at the neighbor, this is coming back. I'm sure there are like a lot of apps which are building to find the closest nanny, the closest plumber. And we are coming back to this idea of, you know what, two blocks away, there is a plumber. I'm going to ask him instead of just Googling it. And except now it's even better because you have other people saying, hey, this male nanny is actually a rapist. Don't drop your kids there, or this plumber is a fraud. So you can avoid that and choose. So maybe I'm naive and optimistic, but I see what you mean, the trade-off. I see what we've lost. I agree that we've lost it. But my hope is that we're going to regain it, generation after generation, new apps after new apps, thanks to technology. And that will be the end of my tangent, connected to one thing that you told me once that's super important. You told me once, I think we were talking about future technology, how is it called? The automation. And you were like, well, science fiction writer and futurist, they always talk about that, about the evolution of technology, but they don't talk about the evolution of man, of mankind. And there is this spiritual awakening, which is happening now, which is partially carried by technology. You make an app. Insight Timer. I've heard some guided meditation by dudes living in Brazil or whatever, and more people know what mindfulness is. Yeah, there are podcasts who talk about that, and this is spreading like crazy. And now on top of that, we have the gift of COVID where we have to stay home and consume some media. So after a while, you cannot. There is a limit to how much bullshit you can consume on Netflix or whatever. At some point, you will have the need of feeling satisfied inside, and then you will get into spirituality, meditation, journaling, etc. All the things we talk about. So that's what's bring me that's what I'm saying, that we have the best that we can have for now, and we are working on the next best thing. And it is my belief and my hope. That's why I'm a positive person. I want to bring positivity to the world, because I think that there is a way out of it, and that we're all working together toward it.
Okay, man. Okay. That was a good dose of positivity. One that I needed. A needed dose of positivity. I think it's easy for me to be very cynical these days, and I'm not saying money is bad. I'm not saying technology is bad. It is how we use it. And there are all these good things that you pointed out, very important and useful, positive aspects. It's just, there is the thing is that for us to get to that Star Trek world, the current system is really going to have to be collapsed, basically, because say collapse, but a complete reinvention will need to happen. And that might include some type of collapse first, because the system runs on never-ending growth. That's the problem. Is that it runs on, it's an interest-based, it's a debt-based system. So the system runs on never-ending growth and interest, and debt. So it's like things always that has to grow. If you take out a mortgage and you have this debt, you have to pay back more than you took out, right? So where's that money coming from? You got to get that from somewhere, and so maybe you offer your neighbor a service and your neighbor pays you some money. Yeah. But your neighbor also has a mortgage and he has to pay more than he took out. Right. And so there's just this like cascade of this debt driving everything. And as long as there's debt driving everything, it's called the fiat economy. That's what we have. Yeah. It just requires endless growth. So, I think things like Bitcoin could totally disrupt that. I think there's sharing and community apps, technology that can totally contribute to that disruption. I also love what you're saying, that look at all the spread of spiritual awakening that's come from, the proliferation of technology and the connecting people all over the world. Like we're going to need all of those resources. We're going to need all those resources to be able to really reinvent something that is sustainable, because do you know that how most of our stuff gets made is that, there's these natural resources typically in a third world country, and what happens is like big mining companies will go in there and be like, we're gonna create all this infrastructure in your company, in your country, in order to get this natural resource, get this minerals out of your country, and we'll do all that for you, and you can just pay us back over time as we pay you for the minerals, But the way what happens is these third world countries basically get owned by these mining companies because they have this huge insurmountable debt from all this infrastructure, and then the money that those countries do make, it very rarely ends up in the hands of the people, So our economy is perpetually creating people serving debt. Is perpetually creating debt servants, And from that
And yeah,
place,
even countries, even countries are in debt like
full
crazy. Like
countries.
your country, my countries are like billions of dollars in
Yeah.
debt.
So
Yeah.
where's that going to come from? Just it has to
Mm.
continue to grow, to continue to print money, or has to grow somehow. More debt. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's not sustainable. It's gonna come to a point where it gets spread too thin. So
Yeah.
I think so I think this giving and receiving thing can actually help us with this. I think that the more we just decide to give to each other without needing to get anything in return, we give to each other without collecting interest. We give to each other from the perspective that life is a gift. So I'm going to give because that's going to help life flourish. That's going to create more life. You know, it's going
Yeah.
to enliven things. And then I think then we create these resilient communities that I agree with you humans need. We create these connections that go beyond a monetary transaction. If all our relationships become monetary transactions, we're gonna feel dead inside. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's not more life for me.
Mm.
So I think I'm excited. When I hear you talk about it, not when I talk to myself about it, but when I hear you talk about it, I'm excited about how what we have now can help us get to the next level.
Yeah.
And I just really see the need for that next level. I just so desire to see that next level before I die.
Yeah. But okay, two things. So guys, we are giving you, an hour of our times, like most weekdays. Now it's like twice a week, but
Some weekdays.
we are take some weekdays. Some weekdays is the new way we see it, and we are doing it because we love you and we love each other, David and I, in a friendly
It's
way.
true.
Uh,
It's true, everybody.
and this, we don't know what we're going to get out of it. Maybe nothing. Maybe we were joking about it the other day. Maybe MSNBC will call us because they need two spiritual reporters or whatever, and maybe not. And that's okay because we are focusing on that moment here together with you guys, and we are giving you that, and that's a pleasure to give, and we're enjoying that. And David is giving some of his time and energy outside of this show to build this project with you, which is called Relovution. So be sure to check relovution.co. You can join a mailing list. You can get a great ego integration checklist. Did I say that
You
right?
did. Thanks for remembering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, of course, and he doesn't know what he's going to get out of it, But again, it comes from a place of excitement, of love, of energy, of positivity. So why not give? Why not give his time and for you guys, and for us actually, because as David was saying at the beginning, if we consider that we're all one, which we're all on the same boat, even without going into the spiritual aspect of this, we're all in the same boat. We're all stuck at home with COVID, and even when there is no COVID, we're all on the same boat, guys. So give just for the pleasure of giving, and you don't know what's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
This is time to close the show. We'll be back on Friday at 6 p.m. We don't know where, so follow David on Facebook, follow me on Facebook, and go to the links which are displayed below. And David, do you have a parting word, something that you want to share before we split?
Oh, well, thanks very much, Arno, for telling people about the ego integration checklist. I'm excited about that, although I think I'm going to need a new name. I don't think it's a sexy name. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We didn't even talk about the receiving part. So maybe that can be homework, Just go around and look at how much you're receiving. Look at how much was already here before you even showed up into this world, just ready for you. It's a gift. Life is a gift. And maybe you can all find a way to participate in Arnaud's positive outlook about where we are right now and how it can bring us into what's next. And you can do that also with Arnaud as part of his Peaceful Creativity Tribe. You can see the link on the screen right now, peacefulcreativity.com/join the tribe, and you can get some of all the good stuff he's doing, like his email that I particularly like called Sans Filter Sunday, or as we would say in English, Sans Filter Sunday, where you get his inside the mind of Arnaud. So, this is, if you don't resonate with us, don't worry about it. Don't ever contact us. It doesn't matter, but if you're resonating with us, then, pay attention to who you resonate with. It's time to start really making the connections that let us go beyond the transactions. Yeah. That's my parting words. Thank you, everybody.
Love it. Love it. Outro?
Oh, my goodness. Time for the outro.